I started to find meditation and nature and going within. And then I ultimately found Reiki, which is one of the pillars of our business here at Angelic Roots. And it perhaps a wellness center was in my future. And here we are 10 years later. So,
well, that is beautiful. You have a very unique and really cool business, and I really wanted to kind of get out there what you're doing. Talk to us about Angelic Roots. What got you into this? What inspired you to start doing what you're doing right now?
Well, I think, my holistic journey really began through my own experiences with seeking healing and balance and really just a deeper purpose in life. Like many people, I navigated a lot of seasons of stress and uncertainty and personal transformation. I worked in a high demand, high stress environment in healthcare for almost 20 years. Those experiences really taught me that true healing's it's not just physical. And I think that's really what we focus on in Western medicine. It's really emotional, mental, energetic, and can be very spiritual as well. And as I continued learning and growing, I realized that the practices that helped me heal were something that other people were in need of as well.
Excellent. I mean, you spent so much time in the health industry, and by the way, as somebody that had his right hip replaced at 17 years old, thank you. I have nothing but love in my heart for all those wonderful nurses and doctors that helped me kind of get back to walking properly and all this fun stuff after something happened. But there's one thing to have a passion for something, and there's another thing to actually put into work what you're doing. So when did it kind of come to you that not only do I love doing this, but I think I can kind of make this part of who I am and, maybe make a buck or two along the way?
Yeah. So first and foremost, it was never about making a buck. I think for me, it was about being around so many people that had a lack of work-life balance and were in demanding jobs, and healthcare definitely has its place in this world, but it's not the end-all be-all for health, in my opinion. And I think for me, I had gotten into management and saw a lot of things within Western healthcare that really wasn't about healing. It was about business, and it didn't resonate with me. And so I actually stepped down from my management position and went into a different area of healthcare for the last few years of my career. And through that experience, I started teaching, and I really started putting boundaries around my schedule. I was no longer working 60 or 70 hours a week.
Thank goodness.
I went into that saying, this is it. I can only offer 40 hours. So if I can do this role and really only offer that 40 hours, that's where I want to be, because in the background, I was healing. And I was healing from what I'll say PTSD, or a form of that, from being in such a high output for so long and high demand role, and also having 2 small children at the time. It was just a really difficult place. And I started to find meditation and nature and going within. And then I ultimately found Reiki, which is one of the pillars of our business here at Angelic Roots. And it really helped me in a way that I wanted to share it with others. So it was never in the beginning about starting a business. It was helping others and then seeing the change within myself, my family, and those around me, that I decided I can no longer be in healthcare. I need to do something different. And through my meditations and just internal journey, I started to discover that perhaps a wellness center was in my future. And it was really hard, honestly, at the time to believe that and to be able to see that. And here we are 10 years later.
Well, that is beautiful. So many people in this world are looking to sort of help themselves, but you have this desire to help others. Where do you think that actually comes from with you? Listen, there's a lot of people in this world. I was in the corporate world for years and years and years. And I would always say there's people that are selfish and they're selfless. There's people that are all about themselves and all about others. Where do you think for you it came from?
I think like many other people, it came from the trauma I experienced as a child growing up and feeling very alone and not supported. And I think through that, I kind of took a step back when I graduated from high school and wanted to think about, what could I do out in the world that would be helpful? And that's where healthcare came in and the desire to help others. So that's
beautiful. And you're really establishing a wellness community. tell us a little bit about, what that means. If I walk into your location and then what can I expect?
I think that one of the main things that people tell us that they feel when they come in is just really welcome. They
Mm.
feel welcomed, everything's light and bright, and everybody's friendly. I think it's just a place to bring together community. I think in the front end of our business, it doesn't quite look like a wellness center at this time. It's very much retail facing. And so
Okay.
we've really been working on helping people understand who we are and what we offer. I can tell you we've had, customers and clients for years who didn't realize we had a classroom and treatment rooms and 16 practitioners here at Angelic Roots. So it's been a
Okay.
journey to discover ways within the business that we can help people see both sides, because people come into a retail space looking for something. And then ultimately, once we start talking to them, they find something completely different.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. How do you become educated in wellness? How
In
do you become?
wellness? Well, it
Yeah.
depends on the type of wellness. There's a lot of certifications out there, from meditation to sound healing, shamanic healing, Reiki. There's quite a few different, certifications.
You've got, you've really prioritized making this environment very welcoming, and very comfortable. Is it? And you've already sort of referenced colors and stuff like that. I really think when you come into a place and you've got, it's really dark and dreary. I've got a little psychology background, and it kind of actually sort of messes with you in your head and stuff. And you start thinking about things that are kind of dreary and kind of sad and stuff like that. How did you exactly, decide on what to actually present to, your customer base?
Well, for a shop like ours, from the retail perspective, I felt like a lot of the shops that I went into were dark, right? They were very, very metaphysical oriented, or what some people might call mystical or woo woo. And when I sat
Whoa.
down and yeah, yeah. When I sat down and started thinking about, well, what do I want to present? I wanted a place where people where any walk of life could walk in and feel comfortable, whether you're another retail associate somewhere working at a coffee shop, or you're a lawyer in a
Sure.
firm somewhere in Chicago. You can walk in and feel welcome, but also feel pleased and comfortable in the environment that's there.
Somebody wants to start a business. You're 10 years strong. So first off, congratulations. That's awesome, right?
Thank you.
So actually, all right, well, we're going to go there then. How were you able to navigate through COVID?
I would say that was one of our more challenging times, but
Sure.
also such a beautiful time of connection for us.
Mm.
We were actually in the middle of the remodel on our main storefront.
Okay.
And so it was a very difficult time, a very stressful time. We had plans approved by the city, and
Mm.
then some of those contractors wouldn't come to work because they were afraid to catch COVID.
Sure.
And so there were times where we had to scrap all of the work we had done and start over with a new contractor. And a remodel that should have taken 9 months took us about 18. But what we found during the time when we were actually forced to close our doors is we did have a retail space here in the Marketplace Shopping Village at the time. It was a lot smaller and we were renting it, but
Okay.
we did live sales, and we had been doing live sales already up until that point. And so we just took off. Our website was already secure. It was already working. All of our items were online, and we were able to then just take our business to an online platform. And a
Mm.
lot of people have told us that that was what got them through COVID.
I can imagine.
We were doing live sales almost every day. And when we do live sales, it's not necessarily about selling product. Of course, as a business owner, that's part of it. We all have to make a living, but
Sure.
it was more about connection. And I'll tell you, our business took off during that year. Other businesses around us were closing and struggling, and we were thriving. And it was
Mm.
just so beautiful. And I really do feel like that created such a sense of community for people. And
Sure.
then they kept coming back. And even to this day, they'll be like, I miss our COVID live sales, because we would go live a lot more frequently than we do.
I can imagine that, during that time, so many people were struggling with, their present conditions, right? And I can imagine.
Everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but somebody like you and what you're doing I can see why that would be so helpful to people, to
Mhm.
kind of get some stability in whatever ways they certainly can. You referenced these live sales and being, utilizing that space. I've noticed that you really have a really strong social media presence. When did that kind of click to your head that, you know what, this is going to be something that'll really help us really kind of get the word out as far as what we're doing? Do you have an actual social media expert that's working with you with this stuff, or what? My goodness.
Honestly, up until about a week ago, no, we just hired a marketing specialist.
Okay. Okay.
And, I think that when you're driven, you are able to go out and find information and educate yourself. I really do think the sky's the limit. I think
Mhm.
that for us, we don't know what we don't know. So we've made a lot of mistakes with social media over the
Yep.
years. But what I'll tell you has been the most impactful with social media is allowing it to grow organically. That organic growth is just the most important type of growth,
Absolutely.
and not trying to take from anybody or anything like that. But collaborating with others has also been something that's been on our radar. And, that's not always easy to line up,
Sure.
platforms and visions and, values and things like that. But we have done some collaborations. But most of all, I would say we've really grown organically.
Yeah, that's so many people try to get the easy fix and
They do.
they
It
buy
doesn't work.
subscribers and all that. None of that works. I could tell you
No.
with
And then it's
confidence.
not authentic.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
not
You,
getting
you
the
want people to go to
engagement.
you have established some really wonderful relationships. I know you've been paying attention a little bit about what we've been doing. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mary Mello.
So, Mary came to us as a practitioner a couple of years ago, and we just really loved her story. We loved how she was connected with colors and
Yep.
plants and flowers. And she came in as a practitioner, and we love her. We love her energy. We love what she brings to the table and her story. I think it's so important to
Yeah.
really have authentic people working in this business, people who are here for the right reasons, people who
Sure.
aren't here to get followers or to, make a ton of money or anything like that. It's more about, I really have a passion about something and I want to
Yep.
share that with others. And for us with Mary, that's what we found.
Yeah. I can tell why you guys are connected and stuff. You guys both have this desire to really utilize your passions and to
Mhm.
show it to the world. As a business owner, again, you've been doing this for 10 years, and I'll there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this that just got started in starting their business or are thinking of starting a business. After doing so for 10 years, what sort of advice would you give somebody that wants to go out there? It's a lot easier to work for somebody else. It's a lot more consistent. You get insurance usually from when you work for somebody else. You might even get some
Mhm.
retirement and all that fun stuff. And then when it's on you, it's on you. Everything's on you, right? But what sort of advice would you give to somebody that wants to kind of go out there and start a business?
I think that one of the main things is to be authentic and to understand that you can't build a business by yourself.
Right.
You really need a team. You need the right people around you. I've worn a lot of different hats throughout this role, from teacher to practitioner to marketing,
Sure.
business owner, mentor for others, and also a lifelong student. And I think that's key, is to continue to be willing to learn. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, I don't need to keep learning. I have a college education and this and that. But, when you're a business owner, you really need to learn how to pivot. I think for us, COVID was one of those times where we were
Yep.
like, we've got this. We have this foundation set up and now we're just going to pivot. We're going to pivot and make this decision. And it was one of the best decisions, but it's really built, any kind of business is built through hard work, dedication, consistency, being able to be adaptable, and genuinely caring about what you're doing and
Agreed.
how you're showing up.
I think that shows too. It just shows people see it, people sense it, people feel it when they see that somebody's. And I think it's also probably a nice little takeaway to tell people that they're probably not going to be ultra successful right away, but they've got to learn to navigate through things, right? They've got to learn, they've got
Right.
to quantify what success actually means. If they say, "Hey, I want to start this business and I'm going to make $1 million first year," yeah, maybe you need to take a step back and realize that that's not probably going to happen.
A big step back.
Yes, a big setback. Yes, yes.
We have a
We're
lot of practitioners that come in and they have their own businesses and they see our business thriving and our events selling out. And they always come in, and I think they have this misconception that they're going to come in and be put on our website and their classes and sessions are going to be full. And I always tell them that's not the case.
Mhm.
It's time to build trust in a
Yep.
business. It takes time to show your authenticity, to show who
Mm,
you are, to capture an audience, and to have people trust you.
yep.
That first layer of trust, I think, comes through us because people trust us and our decision is to bring a practitioner on, but it does not happen overnight. And you
Nope.
have to be willing to put yourself out there, to do things that are incredibly uncomfortable, to continue
Yep.
again to learn and grow. So,
Get comfortable in your uncomfortability. That's what yes, right? Because you really do. You are, now you're wearing a lot of hats, but, let's be honest, you've got folks that are working with you.
mhm,
So, back in the day when I was sort of in charge of teams and stuff like that, I was always trying to cultivate my replacement, and not that I wanted to go anywhere, but, it was always really big to me to really try to build people up and to look for, what their strengths are, to accentuate those
mhm.
strengths and then work on their areas of opportunity. Back in my day, we could say weaknesses, but
Right, right.
their areas of opportunity, right? But what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership to me is, it's about being able to meet people where they are.
Ah,
But
love it.
also, I think leadership, especially within our business, it's about innovation, it's about drive, it's about passion. It's
Huh.
about that, again, willingness to pivot and
Yes,
to admit when we've made, a wrong decision. But it's also, yes, about the people that you surround yourself with. And when you say, like, was always looking for my replacement, I will say we have an amazing management team here
love it.
and we've built that with purpose. We don't intend to always be on site all the time. Our
True.
youngest son just graduated from high school a couple of weeks ago, not years ago, a
Yeah, okay.
couple of weeks ago. And so we're moving into this new phase and still wanting to grow the business, but also wanting to go explore and have different connections and different experiences out in the world. And it's been such a beautiful thing because we've really found so many people who care so much about our business, our community, our clientele, and our purpose and our vision for our business and what we're doing here. So we're able to leave for a week or two, and through a few maybe phone calls or text messages, they're able to continue running the business very well, almost like we were here. So it's
Mm,
been such a beautiful blessing to
yeah,
have those right people and those people who really do care about what we're doing here.
absolutely. And when you can empower others, it's you get so much self gratification from that, but then you see that you're really like you're helping them again become the best version of themselves. And I really think that's kind of what you're speaking about. I think that's really beautiful. I really do. If you could go back 10 years ago with the knowledge you have now, what would you have done differently when you started that you've learned along the way, Laurie?
Honestly, nothing.
Ooh, drop the mic. Nothing, huh?
No, I think, things unfold and there's been difficult times, but those are opportunities to grow and to become stronger and to find where our weakness or opportunity is to continue to grow.
Sure.
Right. And, I think it was difficult for our children when we started the business. We had small children at the time, they're grown now. At the time, it was difficult. We were doing a
Okay.
lot of shows. They were part of our business, which was beautiful because I think the community really, really loved that. But looking back, honestly, I wouldn't change a thing because every single step along the way has brought us to where we are now.
I love that. Well, we'll have to look in the child labor laws to make sure everything was okay back. No, I think that's beautiful. Whenever I go somewhere, and even if it's just a little small, if I go to a little fair and then I see like a family all involved, it fills me up with so much pride. I think that's just really beautiful. So, and you were teaching your kids some pretty darn important lessons along the way too.
Absolutely.
So I think that's pretty cool. What would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as far as being an entrepreneur?
I think, again, you can't do it alone, that you have to learn how to delegate and how to come together as a team. I don't think that entrepreneurship can happen in a silo.
Yeah,
I think you always have to have a team around you, and to think that I can only do it because I'm the best at it is really the wrong attitude to have. And so really
absolutely.
learning that there's people around you that you're, at the bottom line is you're paying them to do a job for you, but they're
Good.
also here to help you and to help you learn and grow, and vice versa. You're there to help them learn and grow as well.
I think that's so important too. When people have the opportunity to manage others and work with others, what would you say to somebody that says, "I want to feel healed"? How would you try to help them get to that conclusion?
Well, I would let them know, we all have different ways of healing, and that my recommendation always is to fill up your toolbox with tools that you can utilize in certain aspects of life, and when there's challenges and when there's celebrations as well.
Sure.
But healing isn't linear. And to be honest, we're never done. There's no destination.
Mm,
And I think, for me, a lot of students come in, I teach Reiki. So a lot of students come in and they think, well, once I go through this program, I'm going to be healed. And I'm the
sure.
first one to step back and tell them, I'm here teaching you. I've been doing this for over 10 years and I'm still healing within myself. And, that's always going to be something that we're doing because we're always being presented with different opportunities and different challenges and different events within our lives. And there's no destination with healing, but it's about wanting to be and to feel better than you did the day before.
I love that. I love that. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about Reiki?
Yeah, definitely. It is one of the pillars of our business here at Angelic Roots. I would say it's one of the things that really began my journey. I had a friend that invited me to a circle where they were talking about Reiki and healing and, things that I had never heard of, and I never turned back. I kept exploring and learning. And then a friend of mine bought me, a certificate to go and receive a Reiki session. And it was really amazing. And I
Mm.
was I'm a scientist at heart. I have a degree in laboratory science. And so
Oh,
my mind is very scientific. And so I was trying to wrap my mind around what did I just experience? But
yes.
Reiki is really just a gentle energy. It's a healing practice that supports the body's natural ability to heal
Okay.
and to restore balance within the body. We all have this universal energy that flows through us that helps our hearts always, beating and our bodies always being amazing without us really needing to do anything other than fuel it.
Sure.
And I think Reiki just kind of expounds on that. And really through the process, we can help others find more balance and peace within.
Let's think about. Well, I love actually turning skepticism around, quite frankly, but I don't want to have to go that route. But let's talk about somebody that you have been able to help that maybe initially they're a little bit slightly resistant, and then you realize that based on the interactions and based on all the support you're able to provide them, you really were able to sort of help them out. Can you think of somebody that sort of stands out in that way?
I'm trying to choose which one
I
to
bet. I bet.
talk about.
Sure.
There is a lot of skepticism. I think, a lot of people end up in my treatment room because they've heard from someone else that they had an amazing experience. And so I have gotten quite a few skeptics over the years. And one in particular is coming to mind. And he had been having some, struggles in his role at work and with his family and his wife and things like that. And somebody told him, go get Reiki. So he came into my treatment room and we had quite an extensive conversation. But I think for somebody who's skeptical and they come across our business here and what I have to share is that I look at it from kind of a different approach than a lot of people do. And I think because I have the medical background, I have a scientific mind, I'm able to help people see natural energy medicine in just such a different
Mm,
way. And then
sure.
they have the experience. And I really do try to spend time helping to fill their toolbox, giving them different ways to navigate things that they're struggling with. And they've come back saying, I did these things and I feel like a different person. And sometimes it's a crystal, right?
Yes.
Through our through our journey, we did a lot of vendor markets and shows, and they weren't always metaphysical. And I just remember being at different markets along the way, and so many people stopping in and saying, I don't know why I'm standing in your booth because I don't believe in any of this, but I'm
Nah,
here. So help
sure.
me learn. And we would end up talking about meditation and connection to nature and how crystals can help you connect to the earth and connect to nature. And they
Sure.
don't come out of the earth saying, oh, I'm going to help you with stress relief or anything like that, right? And so we don't kind of lean on that so much, but it's more about what are you drawn to? then people walking away with a few tumbled stones, which are small polished crystals from the earth, and then finding us at a next event saying, "What did you do to these?" Because these have helped me so much and I want to learn more. And that's when we get them into Reiki and sound healing and different tools that they can put into their toolbox.
There is you have done really great in the corporate world. You're mentioning toolboxes. You're mentioning pivoting. I love it. I love it. It's all stuff that I used to hear, and I used to try to work those terms in a positive way. And you're doing a great job. You're 10 years in. 10 years from now, where would you like to see Angelic Root get to? Where do you envision where do you envision in 10 years from now you'll be with Angelic Roots?
Wow, we've built so much in the past 10 years.
Sure.
I think our next step and vision for our business is to really find an anchor space that's a lot larger, where we can offer larger community gatherings, where we as Angelic Roots can be under one roof. We actually have 2 locations in this village here. And so we're staffing 2 locations, and, not everything's as cohesive as we would like it to be. But
Sure.
through that, we have limited space to offer connection. We have limited space to offer community gatherings. And so 10 years from now, absolutely a larger space with a larger community area, places for people to sit and talk. And also just larger classrooms. A lot of our events, we can only hold between, depending on what we're doing, 16 to 20 people. And often there's a wait list. And so just having the ability to connect more and to create that space.
I love it. I love it. We started this channel because we really wanted to get to know, our community. We really wanted to get to know our folks. We really wanted to build people up. We wanted to, really spotlight all these people like yourself, Laurie, that are doing these wonderful things in the world. I myself personally, I really judge a person on their authenticity. And it's something that you've mentioned quite a bit. And I just want to thank you for coming on here. I want to thank you for being authentic. I want to thank you for showing everybody what you're doing, all the great things you're doing in the world. And I just think it's really impressive what you're doing. And any time you can help somebody in any way, I'm a fan of, and you're obviously doing that every single day. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. You have a good one, okay?
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Welcome
Bye-bye.
to the Illinois Business Playbook. We sit down with people building real impact in their communities and unpack the vision behind their work. If you care about real stories and real connection, you're in the right place. Let's make some noise.